Jack, why won't they release the files then?
Well, hang on, Brian. Hang on, Brian. The point I'm going to make is, I do think if you continue to be a friend of Epstein, knowing he was a convicted pedophile after whatever it was, 2009 or so, as Prince Andrew did, for example, then I'm afraid that is seriously problematic. For those who were in his circle, a wide circle of well-known...
In this case, we're looking at a heated exchange involving conservative commentator Jack Posobiec and political commentator Adam Mockler, where the discussion quickly turns into a battle over credibility, accountability, and political loyalty. Supporters of the Trump movement often argue that figures like Jack are simply defending their side and pushing back against what they believe is unfair criticism. However, critics argue that some influencers have become more focused on protecting a political brand than honestly questioning the actions of the people they support. And that's exactly what makes this conversation so interesting. Adam Mockler challenges Jack Posobiec over his past involvement with Trump-aligned messaging and questions whether some political figures are being used to promote a certain narrative rather than provide genuine transparency. So in this video, we're going to break down this intense exchange, look at the arguments from both sides, and examine why this debate has sparked such a strong reaction online. Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Let's get into the clip and see exactly what happened.
He was friends with Epstein. He'll be friends with Elon.
What was that?
He was friends with Epstein. I'm sure he can be friends with Elon Musk.
He actually helped Epstein be prosecuted. He was the only person who was involved. Kicked him out of the Epstein. You know all this. Like, it's just a very.
Have you heard of Alexander Acosta, the Florida district attorney who was?
Like your little,
have you
like,
heard of Alexander Acosta? You know who that is?
You're like, oh, I got it. Look at me. Like, I'm the guy from Third Eye.
Do you know who Alexander Acosta is?
No,
you were duped to cover up sexual abuse of
Donald
children.
Trump was
you were
kicked
duped.
him out of Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump was the only one who went to investigators and said, I will
Piers,
work
do you know
with
who
you
Alexander
against
Acosta
Epstein.
is?
This has been litigated a
Can I just add
million
something here?
times.
Well,
It's been litigated a million
first of all,
times.
Can I just...
Well,
can I
Brian,
just-
I'll come to you, but Adam, just explain what you're talking about.
Yeah, really quickly, Alexander Acosta was a Florida district attorney. You can look this up. He knew both Trump and Epstein. He was appointed as a Secretary of Labor under Trump and had to resign in 2017 because people found out that he mishandled the Epstein case in 2007 and let Epstein get an illegal plea deal. Epstein was then able to go re-offend, and Trump appointed him in 2017. So I don't want to hear the dude that was brought to the White House to cover up sexual abuse saying that there was, I don't, like, what are you trying to say here? Yeah.
You gotta wipe your face. Can you just wipe that little thing off your face there a little bit? You got a little,
All right, hold on a
mud
second.
on your face.
Okay.
You have no points.
Hold on a second.
No
Can I
points,
just-
huh?
Can I add something?
got a little
First
mud
of
on your
all,
face
I
there.
hear the MAGA bullshit detector going off every single time Jack opens his mouth. First of all, people like Jack were the people who called Joe Biden a pedophile for sniffing hair, but yet we have Jeffrey Epstein on tape calling Donald Trump his best friend. They were hanging out together constantly. I've spoken to Jeffrey Epstein's brother
Do you want me
many
to go
times.
through the
They
list
were
of all
very
the
close.
Democrats
I'm
he was
not done
friends
yet.
with?
Jack,
Piers, like,
Jack,
we can
Jack,
go through all
Jack,
this again, but Piers,
Jack,
I know you've done
Jack,
this
I'm not done yet. I didn't interrupt you.
You've
Jack,
been a real reporter
Jack,
on this. These guys just want to play
Jack,
politics. I'm trying to be
Jack,
serious here.
Jack,
Dude, you were at the White
Jack,
House
I'm
with
a talk
Epstein
show
files
host.
in your hand.
Yeah, just talked about it.
Right, exactly, Jack. Jack, just you want to defend Donald Trump and wear the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7, but when it comes to a Democrat, they're all pedophiles. But if Donald Trump is actually hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein and
So do you
Epstein
have like
calls
any
him
evidence
his
of
best
this? Like,
friend,
can you have like a source on that, bro?
No,
Give me,
because
like,
the
any
Pam body
actual
won't
evidence.
release the
So you wanna-
sources.
actually, yeah, I do. The Maxwell trial, where it
so
was
let's hear it.
learned that
Please,
he
show
was
us.
on the Epstein flight. Why don't you listen? It was in the trial, in the Maxwell trial, that he was on the flight log 7 times. We have Jeffrey Epstein on
Bill Clinton was on
audio
there 26
calling
times.
him his best friend. So here's my question to Jack. Jack,
And how
if
many times did Bill
Jeffrey
Clinton go to
Epstein
the
was on
island?
audio,
And how many times did
Hey,
Jeffrey Epstein say
first
that
of all,
he was one of the
that's
founding
called
members of the
whataboutism.
Clinton Institute?
I don't defend
Clinton Global
Jack.
Initiative.
Jack, if Jeffrey Epstein
this
was
all day
on
long, bro.
audio saying that Joe Biden was his best friend, that wouldn't concern you at all?
Man, these are
all
like
you do is
2016
deflect and you
talking
talk
points.
about other
Like, don't
people.
you guys have anything new? Do you?
I mean, my
anything new
line
about this?
Why
about
don't
the
they release the
Epstein,
files?
but my line about the
Anything
Epstein
new?
circle of famous friends is, to me, that there's a clear line before his initial conviction, which was a complete stitch up in his favour, no question of that.
Jack, why won't they release the files then?
Well, hang on, Brian.
called for them to.
Hang on, Brian. The point I'm going to make is I do think if you continue to be a friend of Epstein, knowing he was a convicted pedophile after whatever it was, 2009 or so, as Prince Andrew did, for example, then I'm afraid that is seriously problematic. For those who were in his circle, of a wide circle of well-known people, from Bill Gates to Trump to all these, Bill Clinton, I mean, he hooked in everybody, but a lot of them had nothing to do with him, including Trump, I believe, after that conviction. But if you carried on seeing him as Andrew did, living at his house for a few days, years later, knowing he was a convicted pedophile, that is different. I mean, do we agree?
Yeah. I think that's all been litigated.
I certainly agree with what you're saying, Piers, and your point there. But the point that I'm trying to make is there has to be a reason why they're not releasing the files. Why are they being so mum? Why is the list just magically disappeared? And I think one can come to a very logical conclusion, unless you're Jack and you defend Donald Trump 24/7, that maybe there might be something to do with the fact that Trump might be in these files and there might be some wrongdoing there, considering the fact that they were at one point best friends.
Well, they've certainly gone as an administration from full bore. We're going to reveal everything, and it's really shocking, and there's going to have to be accountability. I mean, I had them on my show. They've gone from that position to suddenly, no, there's nothing mysterious about his death. He definitely killed himself. Here's the CCTV footage, and there is no client list, and none of that is right. And actually, you know what? It's all over. And it is odd. I mean, John
Piers.
Again, John, you know, from with your intelligence hat on.
To understand why this moment became so controversial, we need to look at the background. Earlier in 2025, several conservative influencers were invited to the White House for an event connected to the release of what was presented as the first phase of the Epstein files. The presentation created a lot of attention online. Influencers shared images holding the binders, promoting the idea that the administration was delivering transparency and finally addressing unanswered questions surrounding the case. But the reaction changed when many people pointed out that the material reportedly contained little new information, with much of it consisting of documents and information that had already been publicly available. That led to criticism from opponents, who argued that the event appeared more like a political spectacle designed to create the impression of action, rather than delivering meaningful new revelations. And this is where the debate involving Jack Posobiec became even more heated. Critics argue that some political influencers were quick to promote the message when it benefited their side, but were much quieter when questions started emerging about the outcome. During the debate, Adam Mockler challenged Jack on these issues, questioning whether political loyalty was preventing some supporters from asking difficult questions. Instead of focusing only on the facts being debated, the conversation became personal, with insults being exchanged and the discussion moving away from the original issue. And that is exactly what critics of modern political media often point out. When people are unable to answer difficult questions, the conversation can quickly shift from evidence and accountability into personal attacks. The larger question is not just about one influencer or one political movement. It is about whether people in positions of influence are willing to hold their own side accountable when uncomfortable questions appear. Because real accountability should not depend on which political party is involved. If wrongdoing is proven, it should be investigated regardless of who is responsible. And that is why this exchange has attracted so much attention, because it represents a much bigger fight over trust, transparency, and whether political loyalty has become more important than the truth.